Okay, good morning. This is day 73 of little videos to describe a day or thought in the life of the schizophrenic Dominic. I make these videos to express some amount of sanity amidst the world going crazy and telling everybody that I was crazy and inflicting schizophrenia on me. I have written in day 17 and day 40. I've written a book on Medium.com, which I post to my social media accounts on Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook in the pinned posts or the bio. Also in those pinned posts or bio is day 17 and day 45 of these videos, which just demonstrate why I call myself a schizophrenic rather than targeted individual, and why I make these videos in the first place. Okay, so I read little books. I read a lot of books, but I don't read them very fast. I read them very slow, and I express some amount of thoughts in these things. So if you like what I have to say, then maybe you could check out my book that I've written on Medium.com. It's called Unveiling the Schizophrenic Tradition. I have put little chapters there. As I write the chapters, I post them there. Okay, I'm reading a book called Dream about Hakeem Olajuwon, and I was learning about Hakeem Olajuwon and the fact that when he was in Nigeria, he didn't play basketball until 16 or whatever. And his parents actually thought sports were not good. It was very common for, I guess, according to the author, that a lot of parents in Nigeria during that time didn't think that sports were a good avenue for kids because they took them away from their studies. And he actually had older siblings that were very successful through their studies. Like one of them went to American University in Cairo, and her name was Kudirat. And yeah, so he didn't. I learned that he didn't. They were trying to get him to play basketball during his teen years once they saw how tall he was, and the coaches had to recruit him and had to do some finagling to get that done. So okay, I thought that was interesting, and I wrote it, so I talked about it here. All right. In my other book called We Are Electric, it's all about bioelectricity in the body and how it's going to go into the neural code and how people have cracked the neural code so they can neurologically figure out what's in our head and what our head does when it makes electrical impulses and stuff. And I happen to experience mind control and things like that. So I happen to know that there is technology to invade our brains, or the brain has been mapped by somebody at some point in time. When and how long they've known, I don't know. I express, and it doesn't get out much in the media, so you may not know about it. Uh, but President Biden sanctioned 30 Chinese companies that were involved in brain control weaponization. And I happen to know that if once you say that the Chinese are involved in weaponization, Americans are probably involved in weaponization. All right. Anyways, in that book, the 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 author describes one of the scientists as an apostate, and I didn't really know I wasn't really too I'd heard of this term before, but I didn't know, and it's about falling away from the ecclesiastical teachings of a church or something, or falling out of a church or religious body or whatever. And I don't harbor all the beliefs of like the Catholic Church or whatever, but I was still thinking of like going back to church. I haven't been in years. One of the last times I went, Kobe Bryant died in a plane or a helicopter crash. And so I actually, in the morning that happened, the priest was talking about a fog that people were in, described being in a fog, and then Kobe died in a helicopter crash. Anyway, so I thought about going back to church. I don't I'm not Catholic. I'm more Gnostic in my beliefs, though I'm not really Christian because I believe in like Joe Atwill's Christianity. So it would be pretty weird of me to go to a Catholic church. But I did remember that Pope Francis said that it was okay if you didn't believe in God to go to a Catholic church. And so I was like, well, if he's the Pope and he's saying that, then maybe I can feel welcome and feel comfortable in putting myself in there amongst other people who have those beliefs. But the only reason I say that is because I actually like going to church, and I do like the mythological teachings of Jesus, and or what I call the mythological teachings of Jesus. And I think it's good that people sit there and listen to them and think about them on a weekly basis. And so, yeah, there's positive qualities. There's community. There's people thinking about things bigger than themselves, and whatever you think God is, and everything like that. And so I think about it sometimes, and then I think like I'll probably decide not to when I think about like I think because I have a very critical view of religions in general, but I'm curious. I'm not curious, but I'm more interested in them from an analysis perspective, like a cultural, anthropological analysis perspective, and not that I'm a anthropologist or something. I'm not very educated like that, but I just think of things like that, and so I have interest in them that way. But I might be an apostate, so like I don't know if I want to be around people that are going to be like apostate, 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 or something. So maybe I will not go, but maybe I will. I don't know. I'll think about it. I go on like Christmas. I go on Christmas because it's like part of the ritual of the holiday or whatever, so that we do that. And my mom is a Catholic still, and my dad. All right. So yeah, I thought about that. In Matthew McConaughey's book, he's talking about the Dooleys and staying with the Dooleys, and as a family that he stayed with in Australia, and he realized they started being kind of weird, and they were saying, "You'll call me mom and dad," and he didn't want to call them mom and dad, and the lady, the mother broke out crying, and so he ran over to the Rotary Club in Australia, and he asked them, "Could I stay with a different family?" And the guy said, "Yeah," and he linked him up to this guy he was working with at the bank. And so Matthew McConaughey, I'm at that point in the book where he's going to go live with another family, but apparently it was an unceremoniously tough ending to the Dooley stay because they didn't even talk to him for days after he said he wanted to live with a different family. So they were pretty hurt by that. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but reading that book. Okay. Uh, Lincoln. Lincoln said that a drop of honey catches more bees than all the gold you have in the world, all the gall. And he did not think abusing people or shunning people or talking down to people would bring them to your cause. And that's kind of interesting because like for like the last I mean we've known this as human beings, like political animals that we are. We've known this for a long time, but like somehow in the last 20 years like people have thought like no, the way you manipulate people is through like treating them like prisoners, where you manipulate and shun them. And I experienced that as the targeted individual thing, whatever the hell that was, or like the schizophrenia thing. People shun you, people belittle you, people ignore you, and it's like yeah. So you're not this behavior by people, particularly people who want to attract you to their cause, is a little bit suspicious that people are making that the culture of people in the various political causes that they have. And I started thinking this the other day, and I was thinking like, um, people are more than their affiliations and their beliefs. So like people are human beings first, and their political beliefs or their affiliations or their thoughts and ideas or opinions are secondary to what we are. That's just what that person is finding out in their brain when they're experienced in reality. So uh, their brain experience with reality, the information that was put into their brain from all the various sectors or whatever, and that's how they made sense of what's going on. And so we have to remember that people are human beings first. And so I just wanted to say that as people are talking about, fascism or revolution or all this, and so it's like I your political affiliations and your beliefs affect you as a person, and they reflect to some degree you as a person, but not completely always. Sometimes people are totally different than their political beliefs, and you can judge, but you might be wrong. So, you just like, you can judge someone's opinion or belief, whatever, but like, you don't necessarily need to come to a conclusion about the person as a person or attach the person to the belief and ideas. So like people are going to be neutral, people are going to be picking sides, people are going to be picking the Trump side, people are going to be picking the revolution side, people are going to be picking the immigrants side and everything. And now I have my beliefs, and I think that like it's insane that somebody, like I was just thinking today, like I was looking out my window and I saw a guy who was a gardener, and he looked at me all funny and weird or whatever. And I was like, oh, he must think like I'm ice or something. And I don't, or even if he's a legal person in the country or whatever, that like, you know, just like I started thinking like, what, that's a weird thing to be, is like these ICE agents and like people that are part of these militia groups that go around like hunting immigrants and stuff. And it's like, that's what you want to do with yourself as a human being. Like, it's a weird thing to do, like to be going around like thinking of ways to remove somebody from your community and society. And I just, that's just bizarre to me. And so I do form judgments about that. But at the same time, I can't necessarily say that I have the opinion or belief that I need to form a judgment on the human being as a human being that picks the side of Trump or something. So I know it can reflect a person. Like there probably are really terrible people that are part of this anti-crackdown on immigrants, and that's probably true. There's probably really good people that are wanting a revolution, or there's probably really good people that are wanting uh, Kamala Harris, and there's probably not so good people that want Kamala Harris. So we can't necessarily judge people based on their political beliefs, but I just know I know where I fall. And even though it's a duopoly and things like that, and the parties are kind of jokes, I know I fall more on the left, and I fall more towards like the idea of like uh not necessarily the 1789 French Revolution, but like people getting in the streets, or if that's where they're gonna make us go, then I kind of lean towards that. But I haven't gotten out in the protest yet because it's difficult to put myself there, because I was targeted for so long because I did that, and there's no real assurances that it won't happen again. And I start thinking that maybe the government is playing damsel in distress, trying to entice me somewhere where they're going to do something to me. And then I think it's all BS. Like, it's like the schizophrenic thing where they're like, they want you to do the big thing. And it's like, I think it might be just BS to excuse whatever they want to do, like austerity or something like that. And yeah. All right, I gotta go. It's been 15 minutes. Thank you so much. Goodbye.